Hey guys, this is a deep lesson about intervals. I think I've got some useful stuff for you. Basically, I want to show you how I think about intervals and how I practice them. I hope you enjoy this, and please ask me questions if you want to. Such an important idea, I'd like you to get it. So let me get at the basics of it. The, the key to me is how I think about intervals as chords at all times. And let me show you how that works. If I'll play the C major scale, like that, I can actually turn it into numbers and say that it's the following: 1, 9, 3, 11, 5, 13, 7, 1. And the reason I don't call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is D, F, and A, when I think harmonically, actually happen in the second octave. So I think of them as tensions, and everything that needs a separation of the octave to be stable, like D, F, and A, simply gets +7. So it becomes 9, 11, and 13. And if you look at that order, there's something illogical about it. You have 1, and then you have the 9, and then you go back to 3, then up to 3. It's kind of strange. But if you play the scale of C major by keep on going in thirds like this, it really organized my brain harmonically, because in numbers this is 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. And that to me is like the harmonic tree of where the overtones belong or where they are hierarchically, meaning 9 is way above 3, even though it's the second note in terms of frequency. Okay, so this helped me a lot, because now when I started doing intervals, I looked at it with a harmonic context. Let me show you what I mean. So, for example, if I play seconds, that's C and D. And when I think about this as a chord, I prefer to call this 1 and 7 of D as opposed to 1 and 9 of C, because 9 is a higher harmonic than 7. When I play thirds, C and E, I prefer to think of it as 1 to 3 with C as the root as opposed to 1 and 13 of E. When I play fourths like C and F, I prefer to think of this as 1 and 5 of F as opposed to 1 and 11 of C. When I think of fifths, I prefer to think of this as 1 and 5 of G as opposed to 1 and 11 of 1 and 5 of C as opposed to 1 and 11 of G. When I do sixths like C and A, I prefer to think of this as 1 and 3 of A as opposed to 1 and 13 of C. When I play sevenths, I prefer to think of this as 1 and 7 of C as opposed to 1 and 9 of B. And I'd like to remind you that I'm thinking of the numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 in the most general sense, meaning 3 is a stand-in name for flat 3, 5 is a stand-in name for 5 or flat 5, 9 is a stand-in name for flat 9 and 9, and 11 can be 11 or sharp 11, and 13 can be 13 or flat 13. So, here's how I practice intervals. First step, I played the interval on 2 adjacent strings. This is a second, a dissonant but beautiful later. Okay, so this is a second, and again to me, because the chord is 1 and 7 in inversion, I'm on F major 7. So in the key of C, I do this. Of course, I would actually descend as well, but I'm saving you some time for the video. And what helps here is that I know that I only have major 7s on the 4th degree and on the 1st degree. And the rest of them are a bunch of 7th chords. So I'm thinking in chord shapes and not in notes, except the note that has the tonic. When I'm doing thirds, I know that it's 1 and 3, therefore I'm in D minor, 2nd degree. When I'm doing fourths, I'm thinking that I am playing 1 and 5, therefore I'm in F, I'm on 4th degree of the scale. When I'm playing fifths, I'm in C because this is 1 and 5. When I'm playing sixth, I actually add a string gap, so I don't have to do large intervals with my fingers. So my sixths are like this. And I know that it's 1 and 3 in inversion, so my chord, my tonic is the upper note, F in this case, 4th degree. Playing sevenths, I know my tonic is the bottom note because it's 1 and 7, so I'm starting on the 6th degree on A. And of course, now that I understand that these are only scale degrees and chords that I know, that only have 2 variations in shape, it's like a cycle that repeats itself. It doesn't matter which key I'm on, so if you tell me, oh my god, I'm an F sharp or something, I'm playing 7th, so I don't sweat it because I know that 7ths always have a 1 and a 7, so if my tonic is a G sharp, then no problem. I know that it's a pattern that repeats itself in all keys precisely the same way, just as major triads would. Meaning it's only a bunch of 7 chords, same order of chords, I just have to understand where I started. So the important point is, when you start, for example, if I'm doing fifths in C major, you have the actual chord, your interpretation. In this, the correct one for me is 1 and 5 of C. And I know that I'm on the 1st degree of C major because the tonic is here. And if I'd be starting on, for example, 4th, on this string, just to get the variation, 4ths in C major, the notes B and E. So I remember 4ths are always 5 and 1 in inversion, meaning this is my tonic, the upper string, and I'm on the 3rd degree of C major. Okay, so once you have the intervals harmonically like chords, it really lends itself later to doing a lot of cool stuff with it, because thirds can become this, fourths can become this, seventh can become this. There's so many beautiful melodic shapes that you can really master once you understand the basics. So let me summarize and tell you how I would organize it. First point of the lesson, all 2-note chords can be interpreted as some kind of 1-3, 1-5, or 1-7 chord, which is much less than you would think, only 3 chords really. When you're practicing scales and you're trying to do the intervals, try to figure out what the chord is and which scale degree you're on. This never changes, so it's absolute properties. Thirds are always 1-3 in root position, sevenths are always 1-7 in root position, and so on and so forth. And then play each interval on all sets of strings. For example, if I'd be playing fourths, I'd be do what I did before, just on all sets. And remember, when you have the large intervals, which are the 6th and the 7th, add in a string gap that will reduce the interval you have to do with your hand. Okay, they're a lot of fun and inspiring, and they can really change the way you view the neck, because these are the smallest constituents of any phrase, right? You can't do anything without playing 2 notes, and they'll have some kind of interval between them. So happy practicing. I'd love to answer some questions for you, and I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.